Such an amazing question. We spend so much time in Pilates doing these very controlled movements, and then Brenda says she goes out there and shares some of the activities that I do, and she feels that her body may not be functioning, or she's not dealing with this fast action coming at her at different speeds. Is that what you're saying? You don't feel good after that activity. And you also asked a whole nother ball of wax, and that is, do we work the body asymmetrically? Meaning, should we do more repetitions on one side than the other? If you're a tennis player and you're used to playing on your right side, should you do more repetitions to that side? So, Brenda, you've opened like a 6-day workshop. Well, maybe not 6-day workshop, but definitely a 6-hour workshop. But let me say that the point that you made first, and that is the transferal of information from your Pilates session into your other activities, is something that occupies my mind all the time. Because I don't know of any really good research that's been done to show that there is this 100% transferal from Pilates to other activities, recreational activities, everyday life, or professional athletic activities. If anyone has that research out there, send it to me. I'd love to know. I don't know of any conclusive. And many of the naysayers of Pilates will say, you're all spending an hour and a half doing this very slow, controlled movement, but that doesn't transfer to when you're coming down a slope and you hit a bump, or you're working. So you can't rely on your 100% intuition at that point. You're not relying on a cognitive process, you're relying on intuition. Whereas in Pilates, we're saying focus, 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 focus. But when things are coming at you fast, you actually don't want to go through a cognitive process. That's when you fall. That's when you hurt yourself. You have to. So I go back to something that Joseph Pilates said, and he said, practice exercises until they become second nature, until you don't need to refer to the text any longer. And the way I interpret that, and it's my interpretation, so to those out there, please don't scold me if you interpret it differently. I interpret it as meaning that you practice movement patterns so often that they become intuitive and instinctive. And at that point, we're hoping that there is transferal to everyday life. For instance, one of the things that we do know, that in healthy muscle firing patterns, the muscles fire in a sequence, when you throw a ball, the first muscle to actually recruit when muscle patterns are healthy is the transverse abdominis. Now, that we've shown through actual research. So when in that firing pattern, if your arm recruits first, the muscles of the shoulder, but you don't have the stability from your trunk, that's an unhealthy firing pattern. So we're hoping that through all the training that you do in here, when your body is called upon to react instinctively, that is when you will your body will know to go back to all it's trained to do in Pilates. And that takes years and years and years. And that is the thrust, for instance, of our mentor program and our master program, is it's the mastery of movement. And the mastery of movement, part of it is you've done them so many times that they become intuitive. Have you ever watched someone who's like learning to surf or snowboard or ski, and they've got this very ugly looking position like that? And then as they become more confident, it just goes back to this kind of position. And it's an interesting thing to watch. And this is much more aligned with what we're doing. This is definitely not aligned with what we're doing in Pilates. So we hope there's that transfer. In terms of symmetry, again, Brenda, you hit on such a controversial topic, which I love, because in Pilates, our whole session is geared towards symmetry. We're looking at the body, we're looking at symmetry, we're trying to bring balance to this body throughout the session. And that balance means also working right and left the same number of times. Now, I was working with a world-class tennis player, pro, who said to me, but I don't want you to tamper with the asymmetry in my body. It's taken me 30 years, or at the time he was in his 20s. My body is functioning at peak performance. So I felt a great trepidation in saying, well, in Pilates, this is what we do. I still do believe, and if someone has research that can disprove it, I'd be happy to bow to that research. But my belief is still because there's other research that has shown, they did a study with shot put throwers, that when the shot put throwers became stronger on their less dominant side, their performance on their dominant side improved. So that says to me that by bringing the body closer to symmetry, by working the weaker side, you're providing a stronger platform for the stronger side to perform. But we shouldn't just immediately be judgmental of asymmetry, because in some cases it may serve people. I'll give you another example. We strive to have a good balance between strength and flexibility. Well, my absolute idol in windsurfing, he is a world champion many times over. I read a great interview with him, and he actually said that he doesn't like stretching regimens for himself, like yoga, like we mentioned Pilates, like stretching. He feels that it weakens his incredibly strong body, so that when he goes up for a jump and he's so high and he lands, that when he stretches too much, that it actually weakens his structure. So who am I to tell a guy like that that you're not doing the right thing? But what I would do with someone like that is work within the parameters of functional movement and functional training for that person and that person's goals. So it's not one size fits all. Thanks for the great questions.